So I think this afternoon we had concluded with Proposal 24, and next on our list is Proposal 25 for Batagur kachuga, a transfer from Appendix II to Appendix I. The proponent was India, and I invite you, India, to introduce your proposal. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India is pleased to introduce CoP19 Proposal 25 to transfer the red-crowned roof turtle Batagur kachuga from Appendix II to Appendix I of the Convention of the COP for adoption. Chair, at the outset, we would like to express our concern about the global conservation status of all tortoises and freshwater turtles. Chelonians are the world's most endangered vertebrates, with half being categorized as vulnerable, endangered or critically endangered by the IUCN. These animals have life characteristics such as late maturity, longevity, which make them naturally susceptible to the risk of extinction. They are also faced with a range of anthropogenic threats due to habitat degradation and loss, invasive species, and collection and consumption, as well as pet trade. There are high levels of reported illegal and illegal trade of Chelonian species. We must, as a convention, do more to protect them, as it seems our concern is shared by other parties, as 12 of the 52 proposals which have been submitted to amend the appendices seek to provide better protection to tortoises and freshwater turtles. Batagur kachuga is a large, shy, riverine turtle which was known only to inhabit the Gangetic Basin of India and Bangladesh. It has selective habitat requirements and slow recruitment, with a generation time estimated over 25 years. It is classified as critically endangered by the IUCN. It is now known that with certainty to exist only in the National Chambal Sanctuary of India and is considered to be extinct in Bangladesh. The species is threatened by illegal exploitation for consumption and international pet trade, particularly to East and to Southeast Asia. The males of the species are particularly targeted for the pet trade due to their brilliant coloration. It is also threatened by systemic impacts on its main river habitat, such as pollution, hydrological projects, and entanglement in fishing nets. Batagur kachuga has suffered steep declines in its population. The population is inferred to have reduced by at least 80% in the past 50 years, and this decline is an ongoing declination. Batagur kachuga is provided the highest degree of legal protection and is listed in Schedule 1 of India's Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Hunting and trade of species is therefore illegal in India. However, poaching and illegal trade of this protected turtle species is a major challenge in India, where seizures of thousands of specimens are reported every year. Species level identification of seized specimens is also a challenge. Tortoises and freshwater turtles are targeted for international pet, meat, and callipee trade, as well as for illegal domestic consumption in some areas. Batagur kachuga qualifies for listing on CITES Appendix I, since it is or may be affected by trade and meets the biological criteria found in Resolution Conference 9.24, Ref CoP17, Annexure 1, specifically paragraph C, parenthesis 2I. Since the ongoing decline and the continued threats to the species population is expected to continue into the future, and any trade in the species will have a detrimental impact on its status. A CITES Appendix I listing would ensure that, number 1, legal international trade in the species does not take place for commercial purposes. Number 2, international trade in captive bred specimens only takes place from registered facilities. And number 3, higher and more proportionate penalties are provided for illegal trade of the species. We want to draw the attention of the parties to IUCN and Traffic's analysis of CoP19 proposals, both of which conclude that the species appears to meet the criteria for an Appendix I listing. We urge the parties to support our proposal to transfer Batagur kachuga to Appendix I of the Convention. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, India, and with that I open the floor for comments by parties. And I see Costa Rica followed by Mauritania.
Sí, muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you very much, Chair. Costa Rica would like to congratulate India on the proposal to uplist from Appendix II to I the red-crowned roof turtle. It is critically endangered, and there are trade threats as part of the international pet trade, and they're also consumed for meat and canopy trade. So we support this proposal and encourage other parties to do so as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Costa Rica. I'll give the floor to Sri Lanka, followed by Senegal.
Thank you, Chair. Sri Lanka supports the proposal by India to list the red-crowned roof turtle to Appendix I. The justification is well presented by the proponent. Inclusion in CITES Appendix I would ensure the survival of this unique species. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sri Lanka. I think I said Senegal next, followed by the European Union.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Thank you very much, Chair. As you know, aquatic turtles are affected and threatened all throughout the world, and we have marine turtles, and so we support this proposal from India and call on other parties to support it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Senegal, I give the floor to the European Union, followed by Mauritania.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. Protecting large turtle species which occur in densely populated areas is extremely challenging, and the EU and its member states thank India, the only remaining range state of Batagur kachuga, for proposing the uplisting of this species. We agree that it fulfills the listing criteria and that the inclusion in Appendix I will provide necessary trade restrictions. As CITES can only prevent international trade, it is important to supplement the listing with additional conservation efforts, which are already conducted by India in cooperation with the Madras Crocodile Bank Trust and the Turtle Surveillance Alliance. We hope that the head starting program, as well as the surveying and protection of nesting sites, will continue and allow the species to recover to a conservation status where it is not anymore threatened by extinction. The EU and its member states wish India and its efforts everything well and for this iconic species, and hope it will receive all required sponsorship for the full protection of the species. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. So I see Mauritania, followed by the United States.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to thank India for having submitted this proposal for the uplisting of this turtle species from Appendix II to Appendix I. We are grateful for the efforts of the government of India to work on the conservation of biodiversity, and in particular this species. The information shared on the criteria show that they have been satisfied, and so we fully support this proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mauritania. I give the floor to the United States, to be followed by the Seychelles and United Kingdom, and that concludes the list of parties.
Thank you, Chair. The United States supports this proposal because it meets the criteria for Appendix I.
Thank you. United States, Seychelles, and United Kingdom.
Thank you, Chair. The Seychelles fully supports this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, the UK.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to India for submitting this proposal to add the red-crowned roof turtle, Batagur kachuga, to CITES Appendix I. The UK notes that the species is classified as critically endangered by IUCN and appears to meet the biological criteria for listing on Appendix I following a marked population decline. It faces a high risk of extinction and is detrimentally affected by extrinsic factors, including habitat loss from pollution and hydrological projects, and over-harvest for illegal consumption and the illegal international pet trade. Despite being legally protected from exploitation in India, enforcement may be insufficient to prevent ongoing illegal trade. Inclusion in Appendix I is expected to more effectively address illegal trade in this species. We are, however, concerned that this species and the species covered by Proposal 33 have been listed previously on Appendix II, but this listing has not been sufficient to safeguard the species. We would therefore urge that all efforts are made to address the threats facing this species in order that in future we can be discussing a move from Appendix I to Appendix II. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. United Kingdom, I'll give the opportunity for any observers who might want to make brief interventions, but it's clear there is overwhelming support in the room. Okay, I've only got one request. The German Society for Herpetology, if you can be extremely brief, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We are also providing overwhelming support for that proposal, as this species does, without any doubt, meet the criteria for an inclusion in Appendix I. Additionally, we encourage India to support the international exchange of breeding stock specimens for controlled ex situ breeding programs and genetic research. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, the German Society for Herpetology, and with that I conclude again that this committee recommends by consensus that Batagur kachuga be transferred from Appendix II to Appendix I. That concludes discussion of that proposal number 25, and we move on to our next proposal, which is Proposal 26.